Well, where to start here? Because I've already gone off into the NSA, so I think I should just go over some of the headlines on that since I mentioned it. The NSA bugged the UN headquarters. That's out today. The NSA has been caught under orders of the White House 3 months ago. Members of Congress went public. It was picked up by almost no news. InfoWars covered it. Drudge covered it. Almost no one else covered it. Members of Congress said they confirmed the cloakroom was bugged. Well, I mean, of course, who do you think's bugged? The Senate, the House, CEOs of major companies. That's what the NSA's for, is to capture trends as they develop, to look over the horizon politically, to be given that economic corporate data to select interest, all paid for by taxpayers at tens of billions a year, well over tens of billions a year, just to pay for that selective data so that they can find the trends or the phenomenon as they first develop and then capitalize on it. That's its big secret. Next, watching political enemies, making sure whistleblowers don't go public. And by the way, they've got all these former NSA employees. I got several articles today in the stack that we'll try to get to, who are going public with what they can say legally. Really legally, if something's illegal, you can say whatever you want about it, but they're persecuting members of the press and whistleblowers now that even follow the law clearly. I mean, if you catch your supervisor in the federal government, you say murdering children, and they say that, well, we'll arrest you if you whistleblow. Well, I mean, it's covered to release classified info if crimes are being committed within it. This idea that they're above the law is the essence of the T word, tyranny. And so now the NSA has come out the last week and said, yeah, we're doing stuff that's illegal. We're dragnetting it. This is what we were told to do by Congress and the executive. And then Congress goes, gee, we didn't know about it. And then it turns out they've been part of it for 20 plus years, putting this in place. And then the executive has been even more out of control because it's more centralized. And then you've got the federal judiciary knee-deep in it. You've got the DEA up to their eyeballs. That's all mainstream news now. And you've got the Justice Department wallowing in it. And don't forget ABC News. Let's put that on screen. From 2009 reporting on Israel having, as well as other companies, a communist Chinese company came out last month, overrunning the databases and the private computer systems, listening to everyone's phone calls. There it is. Israel wiretaps the NSA. James Bamford, a former producer of Nightline, exposes that on Democracy Now! So that's what I'm talking about, folks, is that this is globalism. There's over 800,000 top security clearances in the U.S. for private contractors just for what they call security surveillance, but really it's spying illegally. And that's what's come out in the news. More than 2,000 companies have access to highly classified stuff and are swapping it all around. And hundreds of companies have access to everything. They can dial into your phone call live anytime they want. They can turn your phone on when it's off and listen to you. This is all admitted. They can track everything you're doing. They can plant stuff on your account. Why do you think Google didn't get prosecuted worldwide for driving around with their Google cars, grabbing all the passwords and codes with government backdoors to break into everything? I told you all that 5 years ago. It's now mainstream news. And the entire hacker community, by the way, the white hat folks, have known this forever. That's why they killed Aaron Swartz, who was really one of the heads of Anonymous, murdered him, hung him. That's why they've got people like Barrett Brown in jail up in Dallas with over a dozen federal charges for nothing, because he might have known the person that hacked into Stratford, one of the little sub-propaganda arms of the CIA that's based here in Austin, Texas. And you've got all of this stuff going on, and they raid this guy, and clearly even mainstream media, even the Dallas Morning News admits, have shut him up. They're going after anybody who might be able to expose the criminal stuff that's going on inside the federal government, and all these select groups that are given access to all this private data and that just swap it and trade it and sell it 24/7. And then here's Obama, can we cue it back up, saying there's not even an allegation that we're doing anything wrong with your information. Here it is, Senator comes out and admits that Congress doesn't know the extent of the NSA surveillance. That's Corker. It comes out that employees eavesdropped on love interest, significant others. I mean, these are the headlines. That's in the Telegraph. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And then now we've got all these different former NSA employees coming out saying, hey, we don't want to be part of this. We want to speak out. We want to say no. We want to do the right thing. Congress, of course, knows what's going on. But Dick Cheney says we need to protect America. That's the quote. We need to protect this nation. You mean the special interests that have taken it over and are looting it, Cheney? So that's just some of what we're dealing with. There's a Zero Hedge article that has the headline, Internet Architects Plan Counterattack on NSA Snooping. And that's why the Pentagon is announcing they're going to be going after even domestic bloggers that expose what's happening, as if bloggers and alternative media are the enemy. Because if you are a criminal, foreign, globalist combine that's gotten control of the federal government, it's also being reported by the Financial Times of London, if all of that's going on, real Americans or liberty lovers, period, worldwide, that instinctively stand against what you're doing, you're going to have to go after them. You're going to have to shut them down. You're going to have to silence them, or you're not going to be able to fully take over and do all the tyrannical things you have planned, which the sky's the limit. The level of tyranny you'll live under is the exact amount you'll put up with.
Because there are no allegations, and I am very confident, knowing the NSA and how they operate, that purposely somebody's out there trying to abuse this program or listen in on people's emails.
Yeah, there's no allegations. It's on record that they targeted hundreds of major churches, that they targeted the Associated Press, that they targeted small blogs, that they targeted federal employees to find out if they were criticizing their boss in their private email, that they've used it to intimidate and harass and sexually harass men and women alike, that it's been used to absolutely find financial data out against groups that aren't part of the inside track. All of this is public. So you're right, Obama, there aren't allegations. It's absolute fact that on your corrupt watch, this stuff has ballooned, has exploded. And I mean, I thought Bush was bad. This is warp speed garbage that is going on right now. And it's despicable. And then I see all these left shows and MSNBC and others. I've seen them. In fact, remind me to find that clip, because I want to put a clip of that in the Obama deception too. A few months ago, they're like, of course we're spying on the Tea Party. They're dangerous. Of course we're telling these pro-life groups what they can do. These are bad people. Good job. We need to be, going after these people for their speech. I mean, they're proud of it. They're authoritarians. They're not liberals. And if you had Republicans doing stuff like this, I'd be against them. I was against Clinton because he was a horrible globalist. I was against Bush because he was a horrible globalist. But I'm telling you, with Obama, because they can politically go, oh, he's black, so everything's okay. You're racist if you criticize him. This stuff is doubled and then tripled what it was previously. Now, the big news that many analysts say could lead to a wider regional war and even World War III. The situation in Syria straight ahead.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the InfoWars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happened.
So check it out, Infowars.com/show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, final segment of this hour. In the next hour, I'm going to get into the actual document and the quotes from the Department of Defense training manual that spends about a third of its time bad-mouthing everything from the Founding Fathers to Tea Party to land rights groups to people that, quote, want to make the world a better place. They say that's code as the new enemy of the extremist, and that's their main enemy. Of course, if they read the other FBI training manuals, they would find out that the number one enemy the state police are taught is returning veterans, and then gun owners, and then libertarians, and then conservatives. Like a few months ago, as we've talked a lot about and did an article on, it was in the Denver Post, They were defending it, though, like it was a good idea. But there was a big furor with the state police when it was over 100 senior ones were in a federal training auditorium and were taught to be prepared to confiscate Christians' guns because they are an end times cult. They believe in the second coming of Christ. Same thing Janet Reno famously said on 60 Minutes back in like 1994, I think it was, right after Waco. And a bunch of them walked out and freaked out. See, that's normal. You're supposed to freak out, folks, when somebody badmouths the Founding Fathers and says, we may have to arrest Christians and take their guns en masse. I mean, that's when you, like, freak out. Like, you know, this is a takeover. I mean, in the old days, if you heard somebody, like, in their office, or let's say you're in an apple barrel, like in Treasure Island, the fiction, and then he hears who he thought was the cook, who's really the captain of the pirates, going, aye, once we get to shore, we'll kill him, as sure as you know, and get the gold, Billy Bones' treasure. Aye, you know, and then he goes to the captain, they get their guns, they stop him. And then there's a big counter mutiny or whatever, and then some of them escape or whatever. You know the story. But, I mean, it's like, we're not in an apple barrel hearing them talking about their takeover. We are right out in the open seeing just open pirates saying we're the enemy. I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't even believe it when Judicial Watch gets these documents and the Justice Department responds and defends them. Because the Justice Department runs the Pentagon now, basically. It is unbelievable. So we're going to get into that and a lot of other really important news. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want. To look over the horizon politically, to be given that economic corporate data to select interest, all paid for by taxpayers at tens of billions a year. Well over tens of billions a year. Just to pay for that selective data so that they can find the trends. Almost no one else covered it. Members of Congress said they confirmed the cloakroom was bugged. Well, I mean, of course, who do you think's bugged? The Senate, the House, CEOs of major companies. That's what the NSA is for, is to capture trends as they develop. So I think I should just go over some of the headlines on that since I mentioned it. The NSA bugged the UN headquarters. That's out today. The NSA has been caught under orders of the White House 3 months ago. Members of Congress went public. It was picked up by almost no news. InfoWars covered it. Drudge covered it. Well, where to start here? Because I've already gone off into the NSA or the phenomenon as they first develop and then capitalize on it. That's its big secret. Next, watching political enemies, making sure whistleblowers don't go public. And by the way, they've got all these former NSA employees. I got several articles today.